And welcome. Hi, welcome to another bonsai log. Today I'm just trying to keep up with some of the busy work, the stuff that you just got to stay on top of. So I'm gonna start out with one of my Japanese maples here. I'm gonna come in and start chasing back, do some node selection or shoot selection, and try and prune this for some really tight inner nodes. Before I jump into it, I'm just gonna sanitize, clean my scissors. Got my scissors here, and Clorox wipe. Now there is some buildup on these scissors, so it's about time for me to sit down and really scrub these. I've got some traveling to do in the near future, but when I get back, I will try to sit down and just kind of have a day doing tool maintenance. I'm sure you guys will appreciate that. I know there's not a lot of great info out there on how to really keep up with our tools. Okay. So, like usual, I'm just gonna start low, work my way up. Let's see. Pretty confident calling this crotch growth. Oh, I'm gonna go for a more precise pair of scissors. More crotch growth. A little bit more. Take that shoot out. So I have a good fork. And so I had a pretty busy weekend. Actually yesterday, I got to go do a workshop with Jonas Dupuis, which was really exciting. That was hosted by the Rocky Mountain Bonsai Society. They've got a really great educational program that they try to put a lot of work into making sure that we get quality artists coming through the area for workshops and such. So I try to take advantage of those whenever I can. And it was really cool being able to take some of my further along trees down there and kind of subject them to his eye for what it would take to really improve them and start bringing them more towards being in line with the national level. You know, it was like a whole day workshop, like 9 to 5, and I think until 3 o'clock it was like just sitting down and like really analyzing each other's trees and talking it through. I thought it was actually really cool to have access to his more advanced eye, I guess. I thought it was just awesome. Okay, growing at the bottom of a branch. This was allowed to dive back. And then let's see if I prune you to 2. It's there. 1, 2. Says crotch growth. 2. But I did bring call it the Dougorosa. It's a fused trunk Douglas fir ponderosa that I've been working on the last couple of years, and I got some really good feedback on it that I'm excited to put into practice. I'm planning on showing it locally this year, but I'm lucky in about 5 years it'll be ready for kind of that national show circuit, show level. And I think that's a realistic timeline. I've been working it 3 years so far, so 10 years of working on it to really get it show ready. Sounds about right. Okay. Then that's 2 shoots, that's 1. Crotch growth. It's allowed to die back. Run to 2. And then this is straight up shoot. Weak interior growth. Bottom branch. And to 2. Then coming out of the backside here, I've got another shoot. So the underside of this branch is looking good now. To 2. Okay, that section's feeling pretty good. So this is crotch growth. Ooh. This is a weaker branch. No reason to cultivate that. And to 2. That was allowed to die back. Okay. And then weak interior growth. Bottom growth. Turn this a little. That was allowed to die back. These 2 buds. I like the directionality of that one, so I'm going to keep that shoot and take out these other weak shoots. I also took the spruce coven down there for Jonas's eye. I think that went pretty well. Growing at the bottom. That was allowed to die back. The real feedback on the spruce coven was add more trees, work on filling in negative space. And I think that's pretty realistic. I was already pretty on the fence about whether or not I was going to add more trees next spring while I'm repotting it. And after yesterday, I'm just gonna move forward with it. Weak interior growth. Another weak interior shoot. So I think you're the straightest. Your crotch growth, that was allowed to die back. So yeah, I actually do already have a couple more spruce that, you know, very well could go into the coven. So I'm not too worried about cracking something else down. This is coming from the inside of a curve. Inside of a curve. But my big concern is he was saying I should take up more vertical space with that spruce coven if I'm going to keep it on the Linda Paul slab. And I've more been looking for stuff, 18 inches and shorter while I'm out there. Like, I do have some big trees, but I kind of feel like the ecologically responsible thing is to focus on really working with younger collected material instead of contributing to, you know, the removal of old growth. So I think I have 2, and I do need an even number so I can keep an odd number of trees in the forest planting. But I think I'm gonna need to trade for a couple more before the move, because I'm not gonna find Colorado blue spruce in Michigan. That's just not gonna happen. One, 2, 1 node, 1, 2. That's a really good fork. But those 2 have better inner nodes, so let's use the inner nodes. I'm gonna spin this tree around so I can get a better view of the other side. But I'm pretty happy with how things are looking over here. Oh, hey, looks like somebody's joined the stream. Welcome. Hope you're having a nice summer day trying to stay cool. I'm presently burning alive in the studio, but I'm glad to have you here with me. I actually got to bring another one of these maples down to a workshop with Jonas Dupuy yesterday. And he gave some really good feedback on where to take them over the next few years. So I'm just trying to put that into practice. Really wasn't anything I was expecting too much, more so about how to really work on refining the final section of the crown. They're almost ready for me to come back and saw these off, but I'm gonna let them die back a bit more before I try that. Right now, I'm really just focusing on cultivating the best branching that I can and getting that crown nice and vigorous. So coming through, doing shoot selection, removing what's growing out of the bottom of my branching, just sort of really cleaning things up here. If you have any questions, I'm happy to chat with you about it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of keep rambling here. Where was I? Oh yeah. So that workshop was really exciting. We spent the first, wow, like 9 until 2-ish just talking about each other's trees, going around and talking about getting them up to the level of being show worthy. Especially for folks wanting to take them to, say, PBE. That's the better fork. Better movement. Crotch growth. Good. There. This was allowed to die back. And then we got weak interior growth. Crotch growth. Making sure I'm not leaving any leaves to fall in my pot. With maples, that's a great way to spread fungus. And that's also why I'm making sure to really sanitize my tools between them. That was allowed to die back. That was allowed to die back. And then we got weak interior growth. That was allowed to die back. And then crotch growth. And the reason I'm coming through and doing this is this tree's further along in the development process. So we want to really make sure that we're balancing it and putting resources where we want them so that we're not rolling back the clock. So any undesirable growth that's popped up over the course of the season needs to be addressed. And from the previous pruning that's been done on this tree, you know, it did send out some runners, but it wasn't too bad. In fact, most of the new growth looks like it's just at the point that it has 2 leaves. So it was really just taking out flawed growth today. Swing this fella back around. I'm just gonna do some pot cleanup before moving on. Now, if I'm lucky, these maples will be show ready in about 5 years. It really is just a matter of developing the branches more and getting the crown established. This tree has a really great trunk started. And so do the others. Now, my future brother-in-law also stopped by over the weekend, so that was really exciting. We met briefly a while ago, but haven't really talked since. But we got to have a nice weekend, went into the mountains, explored around Colorado a bit. And he went on back to Michigan, which we're actually flying out to later in the week. Let's see. Weak interior growth. Some more. Oops. How do we? Weak interior growth. But yeah, it was really nice to get to talk with him again. I'm excited for the move, but it's still feeling a bit unreal if I'm being honest. But things are shaking out. There's optimism to be had. So nothing's set in stone, but there is an exciting job opportunity out that way. And when we go to Michigan this weekend, I'm gonna get some more better information on it. Which I'm particularly excited for. But also, I'm going to have Carmen Leskowiansky on for an interview. And the day after we record the interview, we're going to go check out the Art of Bonsai show. And I'm going to try to do a little show tour for you guys. So that's exciting. Not sure how long it's going to take to get all that editing done. But my goal is to have the interview at least available next Friday. It might be the Friday after that, but I really am trying to stick to that 2-week posting schedule for the interviews. Oops. Okay, and now I'm moving on to a Willow Leaf Ficus. Let's see, how do we get some better light on that? I'm gonna just start with some weeding. So the Art of Bonsai show, I'm excited to check out. We really only have the one show here in Colorado, but it looks like even though the community is smaller in Michigan, they have more resources, more shows going on. So this is really my opportunity to start meeting folks. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a good time. Gonna go explore around Ann Arbor, start getting a feel for where we're moving to. And I've also been in communications with some folks locally about getting more interviews lined up, especially to release over the winter. I feel like I'm gonna lose access to a lot of great local resources. So as much as I can, I want to make the most of those connections and friends I've made now, because that'll really help with keeping the posting schedule through the slow part of the year. Because I know I can't really plan to interview people I haven't met in Michigan through the winter. This guy actually might be about due for a repot. Help with getting some of these weeds out of here. Just grab my broom. Now, these ficuses, we can really get away with. Whereas most trees we want to repot in the springtime, ficuses we can and arguably should do in the summer when they're growing nice and vigorously. I believe this guy's been in this pot about 3 years now. And as I'm pulling these weeds, it's very hard to tell what roots belong to what. So, I'm gonna sanitize my scissors, going back to that Clorox wipe. I'm gonna do some heavy selection on this guy. Really start cleaning it up. As always, it threw a hissy fit when it was time to come outside for the summer. So it defoliated and I was letting it grow back as vigorously as I could before sitting down with this tree. It is a ficus, so I wasn't particularly worried when it dropped all of its leaves. They're notorious for being drama queens. But I am going to start coming through, clearing out the crotches of my existing branches and side branches, remove any branching growing out of the bottom, standard shoot selection, and just kind of prune for bifurcation. Where my shoots have gotten nice and long, I'm going to prune those to just 2 leaves. Actually, I'll call you weak interior shoot, because there's a much better fork to cultivate. There. Clear that out. But the Art of Bonsai show is going to be pretty exciting. For that show tour, I've picked up a gimbal. Seems like a good investment. Didn't think y'all would appreciate a shaky camera. Branch growth. And, you know, I'm really excited just to get to tour the show with Carmen and kind of share her insights on stuff with y'all. That'll be, I think, a royal blast. If you'd be interested in contributing questions to Carmen's interview, check out the link in the description to the Patreon. Our members get to submit questions, so if there's anything you've wanted to ask her, I'll happily pass it along in the video. Really excited to see what native trees people are working with in Michigan, though. It'll be a nice contrast to the Colorado scene. I'm expecting to see at least a couple larch there. As far as I'm aware, that's the most desirable tree in the area. Could be wrong on that, but I'll learn soon. Much growth. Now, I'm not going to attend any of the workshops at the Art of Bonsai show, but that's more because I've got to do the responsible family thing, make sure I'm spending time with my future in-laws while I'm in town. So Carmen and I are planning to be there for the early part of the day, maybe wrap up around lunchtime. I think it's going to be a blast. Really excited for it. Bottom shoot. This is already feeling much airier, which I'm excited for. Take that shoot out. Flawed growth. A good one to keep. Crotch growth. Bar branch. Growing from the bottom of my shoulder. Alternate. Okay, and then two, and in case you're new to bonsai, I just want to throw out there, I am making sure not to like go rubbing my hands or touching this kind of white foamy sap that comes off the ficus. It's pretty irritating to the skin. It won't actually hurt you, but it's also unpleasant if you get it in your eyes, your mouth, maybe give you a little bit of a rash. So some people really like to make sure that they wear gloves when they work with ficus. I don't particularly mind the little skin irritation. Very good one. This little branch is just like all side shoots. I'm excited for it. Keep that. Shoulder growth. Crotch growth. Crotch growth. Crotch growth. I'll pace you back a little so you feel more in line with everything else. Okay, that side's looking great. Oh, let me adjust the light for the new tree. Hope you can see that a little bit better now. Just continuing along with my cleanup here, making sure that any of these sort of advantageous weak buds popping up along my trunk are dealt with. No. So I've actually been working on this ficus about 3 years now. I think it's come a pretty good ways. You might have seen it in some of the other videos on the channel. I know that more established bonsai folk kind of shy away from ficus. They're kind of treated as, you know, for beginners only. But I think it's been really rewarding working on this tree. It's actually one of my personal favorites. Now, where I have lots of shoots emerging, I'm starting by removing the really long ones so that I can keep working on, keep making things compact here. Ultimately, I do want my side branches coming off on alternating sides, but up here in this branch, for instance, there are so many options that I can kind of get away with cheating a little bit. Or maybe not cheating, but I can take off a little more than I would typically plan to. Because we really need to balance the vigor of this tree. Make sure that the top's not gonna just drastically overtake the bottom. And getting all these shoots out will really help with that. Interior growth. Breaking out of the shoulder. So we'll be flying out, what is it, Thursday morning for Michigan, and then the interview with Carmen's gonna be recorded Friday morning. And we'll do the show tour on Saturday. And then I fly back late Sunday. Pretty excited for it. It's gonna be a good week. Okay, keep chasing things back to the 2 leaves. Now it is a little hard to get back budding on Willow Leaf Ficus, but by pruning heavier, we're more likely to get that response that we're looking for. Inside of the curve. Bud. 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 Space. Notch growth. Shoulder. Shoulder. The bottom of the branch. Nice thing about these ficuses is they can come a long ways pretty quickly. The branching on this got a really hard chop when I first got it. And I've more or less just been treating it as a finished trunk and trying to really refine, develop my padding. Get some nice space in between everything. Much growth. Growing from the bottom, growing straight up, growing in the shoulder. I'll spoon. Well, I'm going to keep tackling from this side. So I've got just a lot of shoots exploding out of the back here. So where'd they go? Oh my gosh. This is horrendous. Where did they go? I know I was just looking at it. There. Okay. So that out. Now these ficus shoots root super easy. I'm choosing not to propagate these. But if you wanted to, you could, either by sticking the shoots in water or into really any rooting medium. I would personally recommend pumice or lava rock so that you can start developing some good roots. But I feel like I've propagated enough from this tree over the last few years. That's the one to keep cultivating out of this area. I am chopping pretty hard through here because I really don't want the crown to overtake everything else in this tree. And it's kind of been threatening too. So, not sure how well you guys can see it. I just pruned this one so that it's the one fork. I'm trying to take the rest of the little shoots of this area so that we don't start getting some reverse taper. And I'll be spinning this around so I can work on the other half of the tree momentarily. We're just about done with this side. Now, if you have any questions about ficus, I'm happy to chat with you. This is honestly one of my favorite trees just because, you know, I got it from a friend and really been working it the last couple years. I feel like it's come a good ways for a nice little shohin tree, shohin. Sorry, shouldn't do too much over that way. Okay, a little too much branching going on over this way. Really need to do some editing. This is from the inside of a curve. And your crotch growth. Still pruning to 2 leaves. Moving up. All of my really long straight shoots are the first to go. So I want to keep working on negative space and defining nice little branches I've been cultivating up here in the crown. Back. Okay, that's a good fork. You're a good leader. Clear you out. Interior growth. Turning to a side bud. Oh, where'd you go? There you are. Okay. 2 leaves. Into 2 leaves. Oh. Into 2 leaves. Dieback. And crop. That's a good fork. Two. weak shoots. There's a better option. You're just really lanky. Okay, I am pretty happy with this side of the tree. So I'm gonna come back over here, work on this side. Starting at the bottom again, I'm gonna start by removing the bottom branches. Watch growth. Here's my first side branch. Gonna clear out some of these lanky shoots between it. And how far do I have to go to get a right? Nope, right there. So that's actually about where it needs to be. Some wire will really help with that. Continuing on for alternating branches. Gives us that fork, and that fork. Okay, so now I'll just prune to 2 on these little shoots. Now after this tree, I have a Vietnamese Blue Bell I'm gonna work on. And then depending on the time we're done with that, I've got one of my ume that I thought it would be fun to sit down and work on. But if we don't have time for that today, then either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll do a whole ume live stream and really visit maybe 3, 4 of my ume. They're honestly just some of my favorite trees to work on. They're kind of bland most of the year, but then winter, springtime rolls around, and I think it's really worthwhile at that point. I've really enjoyed working with them as a species the last few years. This whole thing just comes back to 2. There's too many shoots coming off that side branch. Okay, that's looking good. And then we got crotch growth, bottom growth, bottom growth. If we look at it, we've got right, get that out of there, left. Okay. So we prune that for alternation. Got the forks pruned to 2. Did I miss any? No. Okay, so that section's good. Keep that. Move on to the last little pad coming off this branch. Let's see. Die back. Yeah, so by coming through and thinning this out, it's gonna help a lot with light and airflow. Light's gonna help trigger some dormant buds, hopefully. And the airflow is going to help make sure that, or you don't have to worry about any fungal issues. So I'm beginning with all the flawed growth. This is a shohin tree, so I might not remove everything that would typically be removed in a larger tree. That's because the more stuff we leave, the more it kind of helps us cheat the silhouette. But I've also been kind of doing my best to really set this tree up for maximum development. To tweak interior growth. Growing at the bottom. Yeah, so this tree was wired about 2 years ago now. Since then, I've just kind of been doing clip and grow with it. Much growth. We'll bring you back to that fork. Feels a lot closer to the trunk now. And then we'll prune to 2 anywhere through here we have to. So I believe this is the second time this year it's been pruned. Pruned it at the end of spring. A couple weeks later it went outside, had its hissy fit, and grew back in all shaggy. Now we're coming through for a second round of cleaning. One of the things I really appreciate about bonsai is it invites us to really get in line with the seasons. And the more we kind of sit down and come back to any one tree in our collection, each time it's just like, you know, it might not be a lot of work at any given moment, but it really adds up over time and starts to really make the tree look nice. So in 3 years, I've got the start of some really good branching going on here. And I'm just working on keeping that nice and compact. Slide back. Okay. I'm still gonna remove any of the weak shoots that are growing in along my trunk. Crash. And then come through and prune back to 2 leaves. Okay, that section's still good. Still good. Oh. Okay, get that out. And then it belonged there. And missed some shoulder growth. Weak shoot. And some more weak shoots along the trunk. This is growing out of the armpit of a branch. Okay. I think we're ready to move on, finish up the crown. I'm gonna start with the obviously flawed growth. stuff that's been allowed to die back. Stuff growing off the bottom, or is just really lanky. Robust with definition and the silhouette of everything. Now, I'm mostly left with the quality shoots in this spot, and I'm gonna really do some selection. Like, this is not growing out the side. Let's see. You're not in harmony with the rest, and then we've got left, right, left with a fork, right with a fork, and it's gross. Okay. Let's see, any weak interior growth through here I missed? No. None of those have 6 or more leaves, so I'm not going to prune them yet. I'm just going to move up the crown. Take out my really weak interior stuff. But in the crown, I do want to leave more shoots. Really, I want to make sure that everything I'm leaving is quality. There we go, that's better. Side branch. That's a good shoot. For alteration. A little bit of dieback. Fewer to 2. Okay. And none of these shoots look vigorous enough for me to come through and shorten them on this side. So I think we're gonna call the Willow Leaf Ficus done. Here's what we're looking at after today's heavy cleanup. What we did was come through, remove the flawed growth, cleaned out the bottoms of our branches, and just worked on continuing to develop the bifurcation along our pads. Now, moving on to my Vietnamese Blue Bell. Let's see, the lighting actually looks pretty solid on this one. Now, this is a tree that I got last fall, actually from Christina Carfora Seaman. You might have seen the interview with her on the channel. If not, please check it out. She's such a lovely human. Unfortunately, though, we did kind of have a rough winter. I have not really worked with Vietnamese Blue Bell before, and this is going to be my first time really visiting this tree. When I first got it in the fall, it immediately threw a hissy fit and defoliated. And then you know, a couple weeks after that, as it was bouncing back, temperatures reached the point where it was time to go inside. Threw another hissy fit, instantly defoliated. And then sometime over winter, when we started running the heat more, defoliated again. And then this spring, it defoliated one last time when it went outside, and I've just been letting it grow back, get its vigor back since then. And I think it's safe to say that unfortunately I lost this number one branch. I was really hoping it would come back, but the only shoots she's given me to work with are right here at the very, very start of that branch. So gonna have to clean that up, gonna remove some of these water suckers that are popping up and work on really just sort of defining the branching that was left. Clean it up, start setting up a new silhouette, see what the tree looks like without this branch. Now, I am gonna grab a new Clorox wipe. Clean my scissors. And before I really dive into this tree, I'm gonna address the weeds. Thankfully, it's just the one clump in this planting. And those came out pretty easily. So, I'm gonna start here by removing these water sprouts. More water sprouts. And another. And I'm gonna start by just visiting all my dieback. Start cleaning that up, trying to get some nice clean seams in between what has to go and what's alive and doing well. Now, I am really sad about how much dieback this tree has had since it's been in my care, but something I'm excited about after all of this stress, today's really the first day that it's blooming. So I know it has kind of bounced back from everything. Yeah, definitely does. Yeah. This is actually kind of painful to sit down and do, but it needs doing. And I'm glad to see that the tree is actually done freaking out. That is a big, big plus for me at the moment. And I think, at least over this way, I've gotten most of the dieback. So I'll be spinning the tree around in a moment so we can finish up with that before sitting down and chasing in my branching so we can start rebuilding the crown. Okay. Now, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to chat with you. This is the last tree I'm definitely working on today, but I see there's a few of you here. I have an ume that I might tackle after this, you have thoughts one way or the other, let me know. I am planning to do sort of a larger live stream with some pruning on my ume either tomorrow or Wednesday, but I wasn't too sure how long today's scissor work would take. It sort of feels like it's just flying by. Okay. And that, nope, miss some. And, you know, I'm not sure how long you guys have been practicing bonsai. I've been going about 5 years now, and I am pretty lucky that I've actually been able to sort of turn it into my career path. But I am at the tail end of my apprenticeship here, and starting to explore, you know, what does the next stage of things look like. So this weekend I'm actually traveling to Michigan, and if you know who Carmen Leskoviansky is, she's going to be a guest for a couple of videos. We're going to tour the we're going to tour the Art of Bonsai show at Michigan State on Saturday, and on Friday, I'm actually going to head down to Michigan, the University of Michigan, where Carmen manages the Mathite collection. And we're going to do a tour of the collection as well as, you know, a working interview down there. And I'm really, really excited for that and to show you guys what she's up to. If you'd be interested in contributing any questions to the interview, you know, you're welcome to throw them out in the chat, but if you head on over to Patreon, our patrons get to submit questions for upcoming guests. You can look at the lineup there and, you know, help me make these interviews a little more exciting. I don't really know what people want to know, but I've been trying my best to really showcase, you know, all the weird side aspects of bonsai, the different art forms that people tie into their practice, and the different routes we all take to get here. Okay, I think this branch ultimately kind of comes up a bit. It's pretty floppy at the moment. Now, tonight, if you are subscribed to the Rocky Mountain Bonsai Society on YouTube, we're actually going to be live streaming tonight's meeting with Jonas Dupuis. He's going to be sitting down with us, or, you know, speaking to the club, really about refining and elevating our collections. I imagine it'll be a pretty exciting conversation. So that live stream will be starting at about 7 Mountain Time, but not on this channel. That's the Rocky Mountain Bonsai Society, in case you're interested in catching the stream. I'll be working the camera for that. Actually, it's going to be a little bit of a dry run for my new camera setup before I take it out to Michigan this weekend. So that's fun. Now, I'm still focusing on the dieback, but this half of the tree is actually looking quite a bit stronger and healthier than the other. So now that all the dead stuff has been dealt with, I'm going to do some shoot selection and start chasing things back to 2 leaves where they've started getting long. And it looks like that might not be in too many spots, so the bulk of the scissor work on this tree is just going to be on continuing to refine my pads and side branches. I'm not going to wire it up today, but I think sometime in the next couple of weeks, you guys can expect to see this tree on stream again. Okay, so I'm going to start down here at my first branch. Got this really good fork at the end of the pad. And so I'm actually going to prune this one to where I have 2 side shoots. Looks like this one actually has another fork. So I'm going to prune that to 2 leaves. Good. Call you weak interior growth. Pull this down. What's going on here? Okay. This looks like it's crotch growth. Now, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to chat with you. But I'm just gonna keep working on this. If you want me to change up the music, let me know. That shouldn't be too difficult. Let's see. Ooh, okay, we got some serious shoot selection to do here. You're a good one. You're a good one. You're not. Okay. So that's a dead side shoot. From 2. From this one to a side shoot. Some bottom growth. Some space between the other shoot. Crotch growth. Oh wow. You're feeling so much more defined. Love that. So do you guys have Vietnamese Blue Bell? They're not too popular here in Colorado. They aren't a big fan of our weather. So this one's actually been kind of stressed most of the time it's in my care. It's really just been the last 2 months that it's been thriving. Brought it outside in April when I was finally above 40 every day, and largely this tree has been pouting since. But we've got some flowers starting to open and it's put on a really vigorous push of growth. So I'm finally feeling confident this tree is ready to be styled. Or not styled, but pruned. Didn't want to do it before the tree had built back up some vigor, as it did have such a rough winter. I'd say right now it's looking pretty good. Just take that out. Prune to there. Right now I'm just pruning to some side shoots, trying to get some definition back into the side branch. And I'm pruning it so that the shoots I do have are alternating, and I'm trying to chase in the long ones to 2 leaves. Not all of them are long. So I really am just trying to think about balancing and maximizing the growth I have. Weak interior growth. 2 sets of leaves. Prune to 2 sets of leaves. And yeah, you're on the inside of the curve, you gotta go. Okay, feeling pretty happy with this section at least. So I'm gonna move to the other side branch coming off this first branch. Here, let's see. If I adjust this, can you see a little better? Probably not, huh? Sorry, 1 second, I'm trying to adjust the light. So this is what I'm working on. Run to a side shoot. Interior growth. Weak interior growth. And then into a side shoot. Nothing to really shorten on that pad. So if I continue out this way, I definitely want to keep the little flower blossoms coming in. So I'm going to start with crotch growth. Some dieback I missed. Let's see, so it goes left, left. Take out the longer one here. Good. Bottom branch. Hair straight up. Inside of a curve. To 2 leaves. And crop growth. Oh, there we go. Spates. You, weak interior growth. We can chase you. Oh no, we're not going to chase you back. You've got some good forks. Okay. 2 leaves. You're good. Your crotch growth. Leaving that long for the flower. Okay. Lay down. Looks like we've got good alterations. I'm pruning to a side shoot. That was pruned to a side shoot. To a side shoot. Growing from the bottom. Also from the bottom. Feel in line with this. Okay. So is that the rest of that branch? Looks like it. Okay. Moving on. Gonna work on this branch now. Now, I don't think this is going to take too much longer. Can I ask, would you guys like me to work on the ume after this, or do you think we should call it? I'm happy either way. So dieback I missed. For alteration. Crotch growth. What's that? Really good side branch. Just gonna prune you to 2. Same with you. This one's pretty lanky, but I think that's gonna make a really nice little pad to establish a side branch. Dieback I missed. 3 to 2. Crotch growth. Prune to 2. And prune to 2. You do a side shoot. What's going on here? You look so congested. Got crotch growth. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, this has gotta be dealt with. More crotch growth. And then 22 leaves. Much better now. I think we gotta chase you back to at least there. I'm just making these cuts to some side shoots. That feels nice and defined. Some bottom growth. Bottom growth. Some crotch growth. Okay. You know what? I don't like how long this pad is. I'm gonna chase it back to there. Okay. That's at least feeling a little more balanced now. Prune that to a side shoot. Really good bifurcation that way. We got crotch growth. Now I'm going to work on this last kind of final section of my crown here. You guys have any questions? I'm happy to chat with you. And, you know, I'd really appreciate it if you want me to work on an ume after this. Just let me know in the chat. But if nobody weighs in, I think when I'm done with this tree, we're gonna call it for the day. So what's going on here? Got some weirdness for sure. So no matter how I look at it, your crotch growth, which means I can chase that to 2. Chase this one to 2. You. bottom. Ooh, that feels nice. Notch growth. Absolutely developed that one. So print that to 2. Chase you in for definition. And then here, growing off the bottom. Some dieback I missed. Bottom. Dieback. So I'm still just pruning for good alteration. I want some space in between the shoots I do keep. That's going to help prevent any fungal issues. But I also want them to kind of take turns what side of the branch they're coming off of. That's going to help develop good taper in the branch and provide good points to cut back to down the road. So right now I'm actually taking advantage of the fact that that's been done in the past, and that's letting me kind of chase back the length of some of these tips. That feels good. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to chat with you. But I think we'll be ending soon unless somebody would like me to tackle an ume after this. But it is sweltering in this studio, and I think I'm ready to move into some AC. Just about done with my cleanup. My shoot selection. Still just chasing things back to 2 leaves when they've gotten nice and long. Cleaning out my weak interior growth. I'm trying to make sure that the shoots I do keep alternate which side of the trunk they're coming off of. Picking out anything growing off the bottom. And that now feels a little too lanky, so I'll cut to those 2 side shoots. I'm gonna move on to the next little pad coming off this branch. Starting at the very end. The 2 leaves. Yeah, so the amount of dieback this tree had was a little bit painful. But I'm glad that it's come back pretty vigorously. Assuming it responds well to today's pruning, sometime in the next month or so, I'll sit down and wire this tree up on another live stream. But in the meantime, there's some videos you guys can look forward to, including that show tour at the Art of Bonsai, as well as the working interview with Carmen Leskoviansky. And when I get back from Michigan over the weekend, I'll try to work on getting those edited ASAP, but also get some more live streams going. I think y'all have liked these a little bit more than I anticipated, and yeah, really appreciate you hanging out with me today. Now, I do see there's a good handful of y'all here, so I just want to ask one last time before we wrap up. Does anybody want me to tackle an ume? I know people have been kind of dropping in and dropping out, and I have maybe another half hour before I have to go today. So if y'all want, we can use that time. But for right now, I think we are done with this Vietnamese Blue Bell. Just making sure I get my leaves out of here. Don't want to invite any pathogens into my soil. And summer's just a nice time to do a little bit of a refresh on our trees. Now it looks like more people are jumping in, so I think we will tackle one last tree here. Okay, so here's the Vietnamese Blue Bell after coming through, moving the die back. I'm pruning for bifurcation. Got little cuties on the floor, and this is my long Yumai, which is a ume cultivar that comes from China. I believe it's actually popularized from northern China in particular. I could be wrong on that. There are a few cultivars out there and more than a couple in my yard, so I kind of have a hard time keeping it straight. But I've really made a point to acquire more cold hardy cultivars. I'm like 95% sure that this one was from northern China. Anyways, I came through and pruned this fella once earlier in the season, and since then I've been letting it just kind of grow really hard. One thing to really know if you're going to work with ume is that if you want flowers next year, then this year you want to keep as much of the growth as you can, because the flower buds only form on this year's growth. So you'll never get flowers like coming off of the trunk. You guys likely can't see it too well, but this is sort of the line I'm ultimately planning to cultivate off this tree. So this will be what I'm building the next section of trunk out of. So I'm definitely going to prune back some of these other branches and really think about what I'm letting stay as a sacrifice. For example, this water shoot coming right off the base, I'm going to keep. That's going to help me thicken things up nicely, so I'm not even going to prune that fella back. But then I've got this one coming off the inside of a curve, and I'm just going to go ahead, bring that back, and I'm making my cut about halfway through the inner node so that there's some space for dieback. And because these are a bit prone to fungal infection, I'm going to make sure that I'm dressing each one of my cuts with some cut paste. Try and just do that as I go. Oh shoot, where was that cut? Ah, right. Oop. So this particular cultivar, like the name Long Yu Mai translates, I believe, as dancing dragon. That, or that's just, you know, what the person sold it to me called the cultivar name in English, and I ran with it. But it's my understanding that it has a particularly like kind of contorted and twisted growth habit. So I'm really looking forward to embracing that. So crotch growth. Two, print two, out to 4. That's fine, it'll be good for flowers. Looks like you are rotch growth. This is what I'm building the trunk out of, so I'm gonna leave that one long. Come back and remove that fella. Two. Okay. I'm gonna keep this one as a sacrifice, but I don't want it to compete with my leader, so I'm gonna chop that back a bit. More balancing the growth on that one than anything else. Bring that to 2. That to 2. Now, ume can be a little tricky about timing. So now's definitely a good time for pruning. I'm not so sure if I can get away with actually wiring today. I have had the best success with wiring these up in the winter time. But I sort of feel like I should go ahead and work on getting my movement into this. At least the leader. Because I'm not going to be too aggressive with my pruning in the summertime because that kind of minimizes the flower buds I'm going to get next year. So I'm more pruning for bifurcation and like really flawed growth, because after the blooms is when they should have like the harder cutbacks. Especially if, you know, the flowers are one of your goals of working with ume, which if you're working with ume, you're not growing them for the leaves. Like, let's be honest. It's all for that like 1 month flowering period. The tree is just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Now I am using just some Kionol cut paste. Really, you can use most cut paste for the job. If you don't have cut paste, I do have some available on my site. The link is in the description, but it's not a need. Just trying to help make stuff accessible, easy to find, and affordable for, you know, anyone that's considering dabbling in bonsai. I know finding and tracking stuff down can be pretty hard sometimes. Definitely picking that shoot out. I'll leave that one for possible flowers. And so, you know, we were talking about how it's touchy about wiring. Right now, all of this is like really full of water, sap, good stuff that keeps the tree's lifeblood flowing. And I can barely like move this branch with my hand. And so I'm not even gonna try to wire today, because I know for a fact in the wintertime, when the tree's not moving so much water and nutrients, it'll be a lot easier to get movement into that. And in my experience, if the timing's not like 100% right on fresh growth and you wire it up, it's very likely that those branches just kind of get selected to die off. And as much as I can, I would really like to avoid that. Right. I do think we're gonna call it here for today though. I'm leaving the 2 sacrifices, or my trunk, and a sacrifice on the tree. I did some minor shoot selection, but I am really trying to keep a lot of these shoots so that I can have more flowers in the springtime. If I'm lucky, I might get one more kind of push of growth this year, but I'm not really expecting it. It's more of a if I'm lucky than anything else, because I've already had 2 pushes of growth. Before I let you guys go, if you have any questions, you're welcome to throw them up in the chat. Otherwise, we can call it here. It's been an absolute pleasure sitting down chatting with you guys today. Thanks for working on the trees alongside me. Have a good one.